I know I'm not the only one that's ever dreamed of winning the World Series of Poker main event for a cool 10 million bucks, but I actually got to thinking about it recently, and I think you can learn a lot of great life lessons from poker, especially on the financial side of your life. I started writing down some of these lessons that I could think of, and it was a pretty stout list. So I'm going to go through those in this video, and if you play poker, please comment down below any lessons that you think you've learned from poker that maybe I didn't mention, and let's just dive right into it. The first lesson that I want to talk about today, and if you've ever played poker in a casino, you definitely know this one, but that is patience. Patience and game selection specifically. So if you've ever sat down to play poker, and if you are familiar with poker, you know that most of the hands that you are dealt are going to be folded pre-flop. So you might be sitting there folding and folding and folding for hours and hours without hardly playing any hands. And that's definitely going to teach you patience and certainly some mental discipline, because you don't want to be playing hands that are just not going to be profitable. You have to pick your battles. You have to know which times to put money in and which times you're just better off letting it go. And as far as game selection goes, if you see a table that's full of professionals, full of people that play every day, do you think you're really going to have an edge in that game? It might not be worth your time to sit down, because you just might be the worst one there and you're just bound to lose money. Not all opportunities are going to be worth your time and money. Pick the ones that are going to be the most profitable for you. The right opportunities will eventually come to you, and you have to be ready to take advantage when they do. Compare this to a situation where maybe you're a real estate investor. If you've been looking for a specific deal for the last 18 months and still haven't found anything, you're not just going to buy something that's below your standards because you're getting impatient. You should be patient, let the right opportunity come to you, and be ready to take advantage and fix it up and rent it out whenever it does. You have to be diligent and selective with your investments in order to set yourself up for the easiest path to success. And something that kind of goes alongside that is, if you feel like you have an edge in a certain game or a certain situation, you should be aggressive with that edge. When you find yourself in a situation where you think you might have a leg up on the rest of the field, you have to be willing to take chances when the odds are in your favor. And that goes not only for poker, but for business and investing as well. The next principle that I want to talk about is the importance of preparation. If you go into a poker session in the wrong mindset, it's very unlikely that that session turns out well for you. In the simplest of examples, consider you don't even know how to play poker. Are you going to sit down at a table full of people that have been playing for a long time whenever you don't even know the rules? Probably not. And if you do, you're certain to lose money. Just like you wouldn't blindly invest in some sort of startup whenever you haven't done any research on the company that you're investing in. In a more in-depth example, you need to be focused and calm going into any sort of decision that's going to impact your finances. This will allow you to think freely and figure out the best decision without any sort of emotion being involved. If you go into a poker session or you go into an investment with the mindset that you're going to lose money, it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're going to figure out a way to lose money no matter what happens. But if you go into it focused, thinking clearly, and optimistic, then it's probably going to turn out well for you, and if it doesn't, it's not really always your fault. It's kind of like in Queen's Gambit, where she thinks she needs those green pills in order to think clearly and win, except I definitely wouldn't recommend preparing for anything like that. Another thing that you're certain to learn if you've played poker for any extended period of time is emotional control. And whenever I talk about that, I want to specifically mention something called financial stoicism. Stoicism in anything can be described as the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings and without complaint. So especially in your financial life, you have to be a financial stoic in order to invest properly and play poker properly, because sometimes you are going to lose money. Having a lot of emotional control is going to help you maintain a long-term view. It's going to help you handle things like stress and anxiety and loss, while remaining optimistic that over the long term, you're going to be just fine. This way, you can embrace volatility and embrace variance and just try to make the best decision you can with the information that you have at any given time. In poker and in investing, you should control your emotions and just trust that over the long run, you're going to string together enough of the right decisions to help you become financially independent and be a winner. Another thing that poker certainly helps you build is a sound decision-making framework. And in poker, and a lot of times in investing, this is built around expected value, or EV. Expected value in finance and in business is thought to be representative of the probability weighted average of all possible values. That's to say, it's an expectation of future value that considers different probable outcomes and then weights the outcomes based on how likely they are to happen. Expected value in poker is a way to assign dollar values to decisions that are made to account for the variance that's involved. You can't just only focus on results in a game that involves a whole lot of luck and variance. So in essence, EV tells you the average result if a play were made an infinite number of times. This is just simply the best way to evaluate your decisions in a game or a situation in which there is a lot of variance involved. It also helps you to focus on the process rather than being results oriented. It's certainly possible that you get your money in good and you might be 90% to win the hand, but sometimes you just get unlucky and that 10% comes through. EV just basically helps you filter through all of that garbage and just get to what the best decision is, accounting for all of that in the long run. Now, if you're new to this, I'm sure that all sounded very confusing, so I'm going to give you an example. I actually had an entire poker hand mapped out that I was going to explain, but I figured that probably isn't the best route, especially for the people that may not know poker at all. So I'm going to make it a lot easier with a pretty simple analogy here. So let's say you and I are in California and we're going to go to a Golden State Warriors game. We are having a good time and we decide that we're going to start making prop bets on specific events that may happen in the game. Steph Curry gets fouled and he goes to the free throw line, and I say, hey, I will bet you $5 that Steph will make this next free throw. But you're smart and you know that Steph Curry has about a 90% average over his entire career from the free throw line. So you decline the bet. That's because you know that Steph Curry is much more likely to make the shot than he is to miss the shot. So to make it a fair bet, we would have to adjust the odds. And since I'm betting on the more probable outcome, Steph making the free throw, I would have to wager more money up against your standard $5 in order to make it a more fair bet. That's called laying odds. Now let's say that I give you 9-to-1 odds. That would actually make that a perfectly fair bet because Steph's career average is 90% from the free throw line. So if Steph makes the shot, you give me $5, and if he misses the shot, I give you $45, 9 times 5. Statistically speaking, if we were to make that bet an infinite number of times and Steph Curry's average always remains around 90%, we would just end up breaking even over the long term and we'd be trading our own money back and forth. Now, circling back to EV, if you were to calculate the EV of this bet from your perspective, what you would want to do is add up the probabilities of those outcomes happening. So you have a 90% chance of losing $5, that's negative $4.50, and you have a 10% probability of winning $45. That's positive $4.50. So if you add negative $4.50 and positive $4.50 together, you get an EV of 0. So I understand that I've went a bit long-winded in this section, so if you're still paying attention, I actually want to make a bet with you and you're going to have the chance to win $25. Wow. In this bet, I want to lay you 11-to-2 odds that LeBron James is going to make his next free throw. For the sake of this argument, we're just going to round up and say that LeBron's average over his career is 80% from the free throw line, and you're going to wager $15. Calculate the EV of that bet from your perspective and tell me if it's a good bet or a bad bet. The first person that comments down below with good bet or bad bet and the correct EV calculation is going to win $25. So leave a comment down below with your answer, and the first comment that I see with the correct answer, you can be expecting a Venmo from yours truly. Now, taking this back to poker, there's going to be an expected value for every decision that you make in terms of pot odds and equity. And learning to estimate these in real time is going to help you a lot whenever you're learning how to play poker and starting to get more in depth. I really believe that learning poker teaches you to look at decisions with a new lens. This can help you evaluate financial decisions with a framework that's designed to figure out the most profitable outcome. In poker, finance, and business in general, you should always try to find situations where you have a positive expected value. This way, you put yourself in the most profitable positions and you have the best chance of making money. Kind of piggybacking off of that, poker will also teach you the importance of delayed gratification. As with anything else in life, consistency and profitability in poker is most often achieved through hard work and studying rather than just playing and hoping for the best outcome. To have the best chances of winning over the long term, you have to create a plan to get better and execute that plan. This is a much better approach than just playing a ton of hours and hoping to pick up on things as you go, though certainly you could go that approach, it would just take a lot longer to learn. If you study particular situations and scenarios, in the long term you will become more profitable in those situations. A quote that I heard in another YouTube video recently is from Sun Tzu, and it's actually going to be today's quote of the day, and it says that every battle is won before it is even fought. This really ties back into the importance of preparation that we talked about earlier, so let's think about a situation in which we want to ask our boss if we can have a schedule that allows for 3 days per week of remote work. Do you think you'd have a better chance of getting that approved if you prepare for that conversation with hard evidence that shows you're more productive working from home without all of the office distractions, and that you work more hours per day because you don't have to commute to the office every day? Another lesson that poker certainly teaches you is financial management, and I'm sad to say that this usually happens through experience of somebody going busto and then having to build up a bankroll again. If you've ever watched the movie Rounders, you already know this all too well because Mike McDermott puts his entire bankroll on the table to play at one time, and then of course he loses all of it in a really bad situation, and then he has to rebuild after quitting for a while. So obviously this should go without saying, but if you've only got a $5,000 bankroll to play poker with, you shouldn't put a massive percentage of that $5,000 on the table at one time and put it all at risk. Just like in investing, you wouldn't want to put 100% of your portfolio in any one stock, especially if that stock is something like GameStop, because that's more gambling than poker is. Always allocate and manage your funds in a way that allows you to take some hits and ride the waves of variance without going broke. Another great lesson that you can learn from poker, and this should really go for anything, is the importance of finding mentors. In my opinion, you should always be reaching out to people that are in a better position than you so that hopefully they can share some insight with you and help you become better. A fresh perspective can never hurt you, and in fact, a lot of times it's going to make you think about something in a way that you had never considered before. If you encounter somebody that seems to be doing really well in an aspect of life that you'd like to learn more about, figure out a way to provide them some value and then soak up all the information that they give you in return. You know, maybe I'm crazy, but I genuinely feel that learning how to play poker proficiently has really helped me in all sorts of different ways. So let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything that I've mentioned in this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe to support the channel, and drop your best poker story down in the comments below, as long as it's not a bad beat story, because nobody likes those. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.